Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special event here for the North American Regional 4 number 2, as we are literally down to the wire. It is a tiebreaker here as we find out who the second team from North America will be moving on into BlizzCon. I feel like I've been here before, just a few weeks ago, but here we go. Of course, we have these two teams battling out for that second spot, as Murloc Geniuses were superior and victorious once again. Here is the road to the global circuit fall, of course, and that fall championship, as currently in North America, only one team stands going to BlizzCon at the moment in Murloc Geniuses. And now we determine who that second one will be between GFE and Denial Esports. I'm joined on the casting concave here with, of course, Mr. Dunktrain and Trixler here to start off the proceedings for our best of 3 tiebreaker. And what we saw from Denial Esports in that grand final was close. It went all the way down to the wire, down to game number 5. And then what we've seen from GFE during this tournament thus far has been a bit of a disappointment, considering the roster that they are fielding. So, can they now step up and contest with Denial Esports is the big question.
They better. Straight up, as an unbiased person, when it comes to Galeforce, they're one of those teams that I actually love and want to do well. But this weekend, they were poor. They didn't do anything correctly in terms of team fights. They kept trading out forts and keeps. They traded so much that we saw Dreadnought get tilted. And I need Dreadnought to stop being tilted because I'm playing video games with him next weekend, so we need him to calm down a little bit. So I need Galeforce to play better, period. I did talk to Yuge a little bit before we came into here, and Yuge did mention to me that they understand that their main problem right now is shot calling, and they're just not getting it done. And Udall is the one really putting that on his shoulders right now. So what the team is doing here is they're going to let Udall play what he wants to be comfortable with. The ranged, no ranged at all. It's all going to be melee assassins, Sonya most likely, and let him shot call, and the team will back him up.
I think this is something that we saw even in the European scene when Dignitas actually started to begin fielding Alex, and they had a rough patch. It seemed like comms were a little bit off, coordination was a little bit off, and our first map will indeed be Sky Temple here, just so you know, guys, is that it seems to have similarly hit GFE here, and they need to kind of iron things out in such a short period of time to contest with Denial.
It is a short period of time, but I think the fact that they had such a shock to their system in the group stage, not even making it to that top 4 of this event, then they had one day to really think it out. They had time to look at all their compositions, all of their drafts, think about what went wrong, but more than that, just focus on, okay, what can we do to actually win this tiebreaker? They had a whole day to plan for a single best of 3 that might happen, whereas Denial has been playing all day.
Well, we shall find out in just a little bit. Of course, Sky Temple being the first map is something that, you know, we have seen both of these teams playing on throughout the tournament, etc. Medivh has been standout for Denial Esports, I would say. And looks like we're going to have similar bans to our grand finals, with Zagara being banned out on the side of Denial and Greymane being targeted by Galeforce Esports. They were no doubt watching that previous series between Denial as well as Murloc Geniuses and seeing those Greymane bans be successful.
Yeah, and then Crone will be the first pick here with Li Ming being grabbed. You know it's going his way. It's his hero, and some may be calling him a one-trick pony, but you know what? It doesn't matter. For this best of 3 series, you get your players the best heroes you can, and you worry about that if you go to BlizzCon. So Li Ming being picked up. On the other side here, Falstad and Murden, the Beard Bros, will be rounding it out here for the wonderful Galeforce, or not Galeforce, Denial Esports.
Denial's composition already looks literally unbeatable. The double beard composition is too strong, as Trixler pointed out. In all seriousness, though, Caffeine, I think, has shown today that his Muradin and his Leoric are really the 2 that you need to be afraid of. So I think securing either of those is going to be really important for them during this best of 3. They want one of those every single game, because that is what Caffeine looks the best on, probably feels the most comfortable on, and always has an impact.
And it's interesting, Denial's been picking up Brightwing very early in a lot of their drafts. Brightwing is sniped here by Galeforce, and I feel like APM not having that Brightwing, we're going to see a level of play kind of drop a little bit in the support round. We've seen him play a little bit of Rhaegar. I wasn't too impressed. So really the question for me here is not on Glarong. The question for me is, how does APM perform here on a hero that he normally doesn't play?
Yeah, I think overall Brightwing as a whole across these 2 teams is going to be quite heavily contested. Akaface obviously being known for it for quite a long time.
Very true.
Although, that being said, he is a bit more flexible, I think, is fair to say.
we have seen a lot more flexibility from him.
Yeah.
APM, we just don't know. Denial has been valuing the Brightwing so high in draft that we haven't had to see them play anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned about whether they will adapt to that. Plus, I think this is one of the best Brightwing maps in the game. Sky Temple is a map where the temples are kind of a unique map objective where there's a lot of posturing and time for Brightwing to use that global effectively.
Yeah, and she can hold a temple by herself as well. She puts out enough healing. So yeah, you're right. Brightwing is incredibly strong on this battleground. Now, Galeforce does pick up the ETC here for B-Kid. B-Kid is hungry, man. He was in the background during those matches going crazy. Couldn't believe how excited this guy was to play again, and he is here to win it. Again, that ETC is going to be a big deal for this team.
Tassadar and Kerrigan coming out as the bans here in the second phase. I like the Tassadar ban if Denial is afraid of Galeforce picking up that Illidan because they already have the Brightwing. We know the Brightwing Tassadar Illidan composition can be very powerful. So even though it didn't work for Denial in the last game, I think they still have to respect it out of Galeforce, especially because you have Fan playing Illidan, one of the best, or Michael Udall, one of the other best. So you don't want to give that up, and I think taking the Tassadar out just weakens that so much. Meanwhile, Galeforce also targeting Glaurung with that Kerrigan ban.
Makes sense. We've been seeing a decent amount of Kerrigan from Glaurung, so really you kind of give him a couple of options. We've seen Tracer from him already today. And again, Illidan could be grabbed here for Galeforce, or even Denial, but I feel like Rhaegar is going to be a huge contestant. But with Arthas being grabbed, that kind of automatically puts a pin in the entire coffin here of no Illidan.
I mean, there was an important moment there. As Arthas was picked, there was a dramatic zoom in on the Caffeine's face. So
what it looked like, I missed it.
It was dramatic. But one thing's for sure, looks very similar to Dignitas in the double warrior setup. And we know from seeing the European scene how successful that is. That, though, coupled with it, is a little bit different, but very akin to Denial Esports.
The Medivh pickup is something that Denial has shown. They value it very highly. They've played with it a ton. And the synergy with Arthas seems to be very strong. Arthas, one of those heroes we talk about, his biggest difficulty is actually getting onto targets. So if you can portal Arthas into the backline, onto that Li Ming, he will absolutely destroy her. And there's just nothing Li Ming can do about it. Now, Sonya on the front line, though, is always a terror for Arthas to deal with.
Yeah, especially with Galeforce just running so much Sonya. Michael Udall still believes in this hero. We've seen her kind of fall off a little bit for a lot of teams, but really you can tell Udall just wants to be in a comfort spot here. This gives him the full capability here to really continue with the shot calling that he wants to do. And there is Sergeant Hammer.
Is this not terrifying? Going up against a Medivh that can portal the melee on top of Hammer, potentially. Is this not scary for Hammer? What do you think?
I feel like it is a little bit on the scary side. You have double tanks that can get back there. You force Sonya and ETC to stop dealing with the front line and actually come back and actually defend her, and it becomes kind of frightening. I completely agree. It's kind of an odd pick, but maybe Galeforce has something here that we're just missing out on.
Plus, the Sergeant Hammer looks really vulnerable to Falstad, if I'm being honest. The Gust is so powerful against that immobile hero, and it can be really powerful to disengage the enemy or to split them. If that Sergeant Hammer gets caught alone because Sonya and ETC got gusted away, they're just going to die. And the portal will make sure that even with boosters, even with that Li Ming teleport, they won't be able to escape.
I think 100% though, Galeforce Esports has had a lot of time to think about the potential of this game coming up, and has to have come in with some sense of a plan to then just leave that towards the back end of that draft and try and go up against this. But as I say, I still feels like it is a little bit vulnerable. How do they intend to sort out the laning here? What do you think they're going to actually do to actually try and control this map, GFE, against Denial?
Yeah, it feels to me like they want to try and get an early game lead, potentially in that bottom lane, get that a tower very quickly, and then from there, use Sergeant Hammer to play around the portals. To be honest, even though we could have Arthas and Murden kind of diving in on Sergeant Hammer, she can still kind of dictate the exit of the portal a bit with the knockback. She can start moving away with her thrusters and then maybe set up a little bit to where if you keep dancing around too much, you're going to start taking some damage from her.
All right, it's time. It's Denial Esports versus Galeforce Esports. Of course, this is the tiebreaker, a best of 3. One team advances to BlizzCon, one team goes home. Who are you looking out for, Dunk?
What is Fan going to do with Sergeant Hammer? I think that's the big question for me here. How is he going to position? How is he going to survive the ruthless onslaught of this Arthas?
Yeah, for me, I'm actually watching King Caffeine on Arthas. This is the first time that we've seen him play a different hero between Murden and the Org, so that's going to be fun to watch.
All right, going over to the Xfinity casting desk now as we get into game number 1 of our tiebreaker to see who moves on to BlizzCon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. One best-of-3 series to qualify for BlizzCon, the highest stake match you can possibly imagine, Jay Howe.
I mean, the pressure is on these teams. It's equal pressure. Denial had a few games. Galeforce, they haven't played in a while. So I'm curious how this goes. And you know what, Jake? I heard a quote from Quacknix on Beyond the Nexus this week. He said, Dignitas winning was a gift from above. You have to think that Galeforce is in a similar spot right now, thanking Murloc Geniuses for taking this regional number 2.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they're thankful for this opportunity for another shot at BlizzCon. And this is it. Both teams shaking things up. We've seen a variety of strategies all weekend long. And now we have 2 teams running in with a double warrior composition. And Fan is playing Sergeant Hammer.
I mean, it's something that we know that they're capable of running. We just wonder how comfortable they are. You know, one of the things that we saw was very different hero picks, very different strategies from Galeforce. They're 4 out of 5 of what we know them to play. Mix in with a little bit of Hammer. We're going to see how that works out for them.
Well, as they were saying on the Analyst Concave, as we like to call it, with Medivh's Portal, Double Warrior, the Howling Blast, opportunities like this, there's so many opportunities for them to dive on in. Udall will be able to escape this approach here in the top lane, but all of that pressure in could force them to tap the well. Meanwhile, Fan is going to town on that Sergeant Hammer.
Yeah, they are, and now the temples are going to be activating here in about 10 seconds, and the amount of pressure that they're putting on the bottom lane means that they're probably preparing for the second temple phase so that they can try and get some control. As K1 Pro taking quite a bit of damage there. He's going to have to get out in the barrel roll out by iDream. A lot of pressure in this bottom lane from Galeforce.
Yeah, they just took so much damage, and they're going to have to rotate away. K1 into bird form after tapping the well is A-OK, and of course, Falza can fly on into action when he feels the moment. But for the time being, it's actually Galeforce controlling both of the temples.
Yeah, you know, Michael Udall rotated up, and the rest of Denial started to come down. It looks like they're going to defend, but also rotating up. That's Muradin and Rhaegar, and Michael Udall's going to have to be very careful trying to get out of there. Of course, he's going 1v1. The stun is there. The damage is coming in. The root is there, and that's going to be first kill onto Sonya. Nice rotation up by Denial.
Yeah, a good rotation, but already a lot of structural damage done here on the side of Galeforce, netting them that experience lead, the pressure in bottom now controlling mid, and they held top for a fair bit of time. So, you know, the pick isn't the end of the world, but it is nice to force them off the map a little bit.
You know, take a look at the talent picks there, Jake. At level 1, Arthas has something called Block, and you've got Sonya and you've got Hammer, both known for doing a lot of auto attacks. So you can see that it's a good pickup for many, many reasons. They've got a good control on that front line to be able to deal with that Sonya and at least some of that initial damage coming in from Hammer with that block.
It's going to be essential, especially, you know, like you said, that the Sergeant Hammer having all that burst damage when you're going into that siege mode. Absorbing that damage is critical, because I mean that's what the hero is all about. Napalm Strike also a valuable resource when it comes to spamming ability damage, but this isn't something where there's, you know, altars or tributes that interrupt, so Hammer's value is a little bit different. It's more about the raw damage.
You know, this is an interesting strategy. Galeforce, a lot of times we see teams wait to pick up that top left bruiser camp, but they're actually going to be pushing in. They're taking advantage of the siege amount potential that they're getting. They're trying to build this lead, trying to build the experience. They did it in the bottom lane, and now they're rotating it up, doing it in the top lane, or they're doing it with the bruiser camp pushing. So a little bit of a different strategy coming out from Galeforce. Nice zoning by B-Kid there on ETC.
Yeah, both Sonya and Muradin 1-for-1 in the mid lane. Everyone else here in the front. And yes, Medivh can collapse onto that hammer. You see the teleporter has gone down. If they go through the portal, the hard engage is enough of a threat to force Fan to back away.
Look at the mines that are around that. It's like, don't come through here, as they're positioned perfectly around there. Of course, that's going to do a little bit of damage and be a little bit of a nuisance. And now we see Glaurung rotating down. You know, it was something we talked about when we saw the draft, talking about Muradin and Arthas. And it was something that when I saw qualifiers, Glaurung looked really good and really comfortable in that Muradin role and created a lot of havoc. He used his typical aggressive strategy, and then he had a hero that basically is impossible to kill.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that works.
It works nicely for him. I mean, he hasn't been playing it a lot. I think this is his first time the entire tournament, but definitely have seen plenty of it in the past few events. not only just on Denial, but in previous tournaments as well. Looks like level 7 has been reached for both teams. Master's Touch becomes the big focus for K1 Pro for a good duration of the game. And he's dropping that portal, trying to threaten that Sergeant Hammer, but the power slide is there. The bait was successful, and Glowering immediately has to retreat back through that portal.
All right, this is something I brought up in the previous game that someone want to bring up now. Displacement is key. We saw it used with Ariel. We saw it used there between Hammer and ETC. The minute somebody comes to that portal, you knock them back, you pressure them, you punish them for coming through, and that's exactly what they're doing. And the fact that they took that well, they have complete control. This is work that was done in the first minute, paying off 5 minutes in, taking that structure damage in the bottom lane.
I love the way they're using the portal. Arthas steps through, tries to bait a skill shot out, then Murden steps through. And although they've lost this bottom fort, Falstad iDream has been sitting up here with the Bruiser camp this entire time. Even out the experience, took out a fort himself, getting additional soak for his team, and just abusing that global presence, forcing Akaface to back on up himself.
Yeah, you know, the lack of early response there allowed him to get a lot of pressure, negating a lot of what Galeforce obtained through that bottom lane. So that's a great point you bring up there. The fact that they were able to get so much. Look at that. The tower goes down. That's going to pay dividends later on during those temple phases.
Yeah, but Galeforce still maintaining that experience lead. They will have the heroic advantage for a short while, enabling them to try to find some, that window of opportunity. Glau did miss the Stormbolt that would have presented an opportunity to try to get onto Michael Udall and blow him up quickly, but that has been lost. And now Denial do have to play a little bit reserved, considering they're going to be down those heroics.
They are definitely going to be down those heroics, so position is going to be key, but that's not going to stop them from at least rotating up and putting a little bit of pressure as the stun comes down on the fan. But the Dwarf Toss out by Glaurung, and you can see they are just solely focused on doing the structure damage. Again, this is a map that if you control the objective, if you get the structure damage in, you get even more value. They're building the experience lead. They realize level 10's about to be picked up, and it's picked up by Denial. They better start backing up here.
Yeah, Caffeine does have that portal a little bit away from him, gets bumped back, so he's able to tap it. That's a nice little win for him. Falsa just now making his way up. All those heroics have been locked in. Army of the Dead, so they want this mega beefy front line between Murden and Arthas that is near impossible to kill. The thing you have to remember, though, is that Sonya, those are more targets for her to heal up with her Whirlwind. So it's kind of like, a double-edged sword.
Well, we'll see how much control that has. Of course, Arthas has other ability or other talents to pick later on to try and deal if Sonya decides she wants to stay in a little bit too long. Of course, that lockdown potential. So we're going to see the discipline coming out of Michael Udall and how it goes. He's very comfortable on Sonya. It's a hero that he plays on this map quite a bit, and it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Like you said, or like Trick said, the shot calling potential from him in that melee range allows him to have a little bit more control over his hero and his team as well. So we'll see. We haven't had a true team fight yet, Jake.
No.
But I feel like it's budding. It's getting close.
Yeah, and halfway through that Master's Touch is our Medivh player, K1 Pro. Nice little victory for him. You constantly see him flying around, literally just looking for safe Qs. Like, you'll see him just kind of oddly in a lane, and instead of throwing his Qs at the minions, he wants to hit the heroes, and that's critical for him to get that without dying. If he dies, he loses that stack. So both teams have separated. Rhaegar alone in the bottom, now rotating on up. That portal, I don't know if it'll persist long enough for Rhaegar to get into it. I don't think so. So he's going to have to go the long way around, and Medivh gets blown up during that time.
Michael Udall is a little bit low, but the Whirlwind is out. The knockback of benefit from the Temple Guardian there. So, an interesting key thing, but the nice route coming back from Caffeine. But Crowan, this is a hero that we didn't get to see him on. It was either banned out or taken, but the nice power slide in. Nice cleanse coming out there to keep Caffeine from taking a bit more damage and possibly going down there.
Okay, well, K1 Pro back up on the Falstad, but most of this temple has gone to Galeforce, and now they're sitting at just about a level lead, looking towards that talent advantage of 13. We do need to see Denial look for a team fight. Even though 13's not here, they need to grab some kind of pressure on the map because of how spread out GFE is right now.
And you're talking about that perfectly. They need to try and get on that, and they're trying to do that against Akaface as the team uses the portal, and that's not going to be enough. And nice use of Medivh to close that gap and do exactly what you just said and punish them as the power slide onto Caffeine. He's being forced to rotate. The Napalm Strike does help do some damage. Arthas goes down and evens this fight, but no support on the side of Galeforce. They got to be careful. They are not done yet, Jim.
No support and no level 13 either. The portal has been used. Glau will go through it. The Mosh is in and on iDream. iDream will drop rapidly. Crowan taking damage, but Glau has the Dwarf Toss to safety, and that's going to be another big victory for Galeforce Esports.
The way that they were able to turn that around shows that they were in complete control. Nicely done there by Galeforce. You talked about that level 13 advantage. They picked it up from that earlier temple. clearing out that wave, and that allows them to be in a dominant position as they pick up this bottom temple. They're starting to stretch their lead a little bit.
And correct me if I'm mistaken, but K1 Pro died, did he not?
The stacks went bye-bye.
That's really bad. That's really tough here for Medivh. You have to get that farm, and if you die, you have to start from scratch. So the Master's Touch has been reset here. Bottom Temple will finish off those final few shots. And remember, all 3 forts went down very early in this game due to the phenomenal pressure put on by Fan on Sergeant Hammer.
Yeah, the rotations are exactly what we saw, and they executed perfectly. The bottom lane all the way to the top lane, they had a strategy in mind, and they haven't been deterred. They haven't gotten hungry for the fight. It's only 3 kills to 2, but it seems like they have complete control of the game right now.
Yeah, really strong start. The Gust in on Akaface. Phase shift, I'm not sure if it's available, but they do have the roots and the stuns in. They're trying to get the rotation up. Emerald Wind is out. King Caffeine still hot on the case. The Poly is there, but the Hammerang is too much. Akaface does get picked off.
You know, I want to go back to the point that you made a second ago about Medivh going down. We look at the comp for Denial, and one of the questions that I had before we came on was, where does the damage come from? And you said it's going to have to come, a little bit extra damage is going to be needed from Medivh, so that's actually kind of a crucial point when we talk about the potential team fights.
I mean, their damage is like mega low. They only have 1 true assassin in Falstad, and without Master's Touch, without having that constant burst damage of the Q getting reset, and even if he misses a single Q, not connecting on a hero, the cooldown is substantially longer, and that really hampers their damage in team fights.
Well, we'll see how it goes. 15-14, Denial made up a little bit of ground by getting that pick and getting these rotations. They're trying to work their way back in, but the structure damage is in. Oh, iDream just barely able to catch that flight, not able to get the interrupt. Galeforce getting closer to level 16, but that experience gap is getting closer.
And Denial has kind of crawled themselves back on into this. 16 is a problem, so they're not going to be looking for a fight till they soak that up. But they do have their presence across the map. Medivh is flying around, getting the vision needed. Falstad able to get that safe soak. Even though Fly was just spent, it'll be up before it's needed here for the next fight. But yeah, there should be enough time for them to not lose too much of the temples.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Falstad's going to be at the bottom, soaking up that experience. He's going to have that global mobility to join the fight as needed. You know, another thing I want to look at while the talents are still up there, level 13 for Hammer going against Double Warriors, Giant Killer. You talk about that extra damage, that could be a key role when it comes to these team fights. So we'll see how it goes. Level 16, Temple's going to be active here in 5 seconds, Jake.
All right, 5 seconds away. 16 is close here for Denial. They're just going to work on cleaning up these Giants first. Medivh has gone through that portal and back. So Medivh was zoned away, has to go into his flight form. And 16 is about to be picked up here. Any big power spikes here? Yeah, it's going to be a lot more damage for that Murd, and Colossus Swim for a bit more control in the fight. And remember, they can look to collapse onto that Sergeant Hammer. I think that's critical.
Yeah, they're going in deep. Glaurung is there. The root is coming in. Michael Udall using the Whirlwind to get out of danger. Level 16 when he has it. He's got a little bit extra protection, so we'll see how it goes when he decides to initiate. But Glaurung, again, on Murd, and likes to get aggressive, but he got too aggressive as the Polymorph turned it around, and the damage came in, and down goes Glaurung.
He was inches away from tapping that portal, but BK has gone a little bit too far himself. The damage of Medivh isn't what it is. If Master Stretch had been in play, that would have been 1 dead cow.
Wow, I mean, the fact that Mighty Gust was used there for a disengage, it shows how scared they are of the team fight. And you know, I want to look at that Polymorph. Critterize was picked up at level 16, so that burst damage that you saw was due to that level 16 pickup by Akaface there on Brightwing.
Galeforce in the commanding position right now. Their experience lead is going further and further ahead. Minions doing damage to the wall, and they've already lost a keep in the middle lane.
That's a huge advantage, especially when you talk about the fact that they have another temple that's going to be firing away. They have complete control. They are on even talent tier, so they can't necessarily be super aggressive. They've got to be careful on positioning. K1 Pro always a threat, as you talked about, those potential portals that could put somebody in the back line.
Oh my goodness, he goes to the portal and gets blown up so quick. 19 HP was left on the board, but a 2-man mosh. Murden gets evaporated. The follow-up on King Caffeine, not quite enough. That shield giving him the heals through it, but no Army of the Dead. There's very little chance, but the Gust clutching it out, keeping him alive. The portal in play, but K1 Pro falls once more. The stacks have been reset again.
He put the portal down, Jake. He didn't go through it, and that spear from Sonya just nailed him and deleted him. You gotta wonder if he was trying to bait something out. He was at the very end of the range of that spear and got clipped by it. This is gonna be an open keep. Even more value coming out of this temple now. Galeforce Esports been in complete control since minute number 1 of this game.
And the Sergeant Hammer is just looking disastrous for them. Even with the Portal of Medivh, they can't seem to break that siege that's happening from Galeforce. 2 keeps are down, 2 forts remain for Galeforce.
It's almost unbelievable. This looks like a completely different Galeforce than what we've seen in the earlier rounds. They didn't even make it at a group stage, but they are here on a lifeline because of that second place finish at the first regional, and it seems like they've gotten over some of the stuff that was bothering them before, and they are looking dominant here in game number 1.
In that first regional, that went all the way to game 5. I mean, these regionals have been so very close for everyone, and now Denial is looking to make the play before level 20, but they're with everything they're trying to do. It's the right call. They need to find that fight here and now, but Galeforce is well aware of that, and they're just playing safe.
All right, there's 2 displacement tactics. We have Emerald Wind on the side of Brightwing, but we also have the Mighty Gust for Falstad. It's going to be a battle of wills. Galeforce doesn't necessarily need to commit too much to this. They still have a fort standing.
Yeah.
You can see Fan over there. He's trying to get some damage in. Glaurung very deep. The boss is about to be secured. Galeforce needs to get out of here before it gets too late, but a nice use of the portal. The Polybomb comes in. Fan in all kinds of trouble, but the Emerald Wind, it separates iDream, but he's on the backside, receives the Ancestral.
And they're looking for Fan as that juicy target in the bottom of the power slide, and a 3-man mosh pit coming in from Beacon. The shield is there at the last moment, giving big heals, and Fan will be the first to fall. Crowan hit by the Stormbolt, blinking over, trying to get the safety, looking for the Hearth. Crowan is found, he falls, 2 down. Boss on the side of Denial. They might have brought themselves back into this game.
Michael Udall using the Mystical Spear to get away, but Akaface, he's gonna get stunned. Oh, no, he gets out!
Barely. The phase shift was so very close. The Howling Blast animation was just, the ice was creeping up, but their core is down to 79%. Falstad had to go back to push things in. The boss is still up. They can take this wall down. They need to take this wall down because unless they can open up the structures, these temples don't have the same kind of value that they do for Galeforce.
I mean, you talk about that prolonged team fight, and then all of a sudden we look up and that core health is down on the side of Denial. It's got to be something they are very much aware of, those catapults, because of that early damage. They're looking for a keep here. Nice Mighty Gust is forcing them out. All of a sudden, Denial, they got really aggressive. The portal's still there if they look for a temporary engagement. The boss got work in that bottom lane, and now we have time for the next temple phase. Level 20, the slight experience lead now for Denial. This looks like a completely different game.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a wonderful job bringing themselves back into this. So Rhaegar's gone back. He's going to push out the top lane. Again, there are catapults in mid and top, and catapults are so very scary in this patch. I like the call to grab the Watchtower. Level 20 is here for Denial first. Who would have thought that would be the case? But there is only the 1 temple on the table, and it's going to be critical here for Galeforce to knock everyone from Denial away from that.
Jake, let's go back to that boss fight. They didn't need to fight there, but it's something that they feel like they had to do. I'm not real sure. Playing with the portals right now is Denial in that backside. Dream is there. 5 more seconds left for that Mighty Gust. They're diving in deep. Emerald Wind is isolated. Glaurung, the critterized the polymorph, but nice use of the portal. Re-engaging right now is Arthas and Murd and the rest of the team. They're posturing to fight, but Galeforce on the retreat. They're split. They need to regroup right now.
2 for 1 in terms of heroics. Emerald wins for both Avatar and Army of the Dead. The front line is significantly more squishy, and Dream has to use the Epic Mount to fly back to deal with this push in the top lane. They've already taken core damage. They cannot afford to let the lanes make it forward and do more damage the way they have.
The fact that he has Epic Mount means that he can go back, defend, and he'll be back in time for this temple phase for his team to re-engage. Level 20 picked up by both teams. Both are crucial. This bottom keep taking a lot of damage from these shots, but I'm curious the approach that Galeforce is going to do. We saw it from Murloc Geniuses. They built up a huge lead, but it seems like things started to put pressure on them. Is this going to be the case for Galeforce?
I don't know. They have to go now because Medivh is getting collapsed on into the back. That bottom keep has fallen. Denial is out of structures outside of their core, but Crowan is in a bit of a weird spot. The damage from iDream is too much, and Crowan falls very quickly. That is the bulk of the DPS. Michael Udall with the Hardened Shield, trying to heal up with the Whirlwind, but the Totem is enough to lock him down, and a double kill is picked up. Denial, they have no time to waste. They need to look for the core here and now.
They need to be able to keep pressure on. The fact that 3 members stayed alive allows them to be a little bit. At the Critterize coming in, Dre very deep, in a lot of trouble. The napalm strike secures the kill. Galeforce is still alive. A huge misplay there by iDream, but a nice Critterize, the polymorph that comes in, helps secure that kill. And now we've got the power slide in. The displacement off.
It's a big,
the cleanse is there. The Ancestral's landed here, Jake. This is huge. Akaface in a lot of trouble. Goes down. Now we still have 2 members now. And now we see the polybomb is there.
The tower in front, and ETC goes down. Denial can still end it all here. Yes, their base is starting to take damage, but the minion wave should collapse. They have a lot of damage here. Respawn and Leeming in 8 seconds. I don't think this can be stopped here. Denial should have game 1.
They are so healthy right now. This is going to be it. Leeming is out. She has to land the skill shots of her life. K1 Pro is going to be fine. 40%. The core is going down. Denial Esports with a huge comeback has secured game number 1 of this playoff.
I do not believe it.
The last 2 minutes. What happened?
Galeforce played a phenomenal game, punishing Denial left and right. Denial finds their opportunity at the very end, but then Dream flies in too early, gets caught out with the polymorph. The blow-up, he's down, but the clutch plays at the very end, denying the Mosh from being a threat. Well played by Denial. I can't wait to hear what our caster Concave has to say.
Neither can I, Jake. What a game to start this, of course, as we do have here it was just such an impressive performance. There was a few mistakes here and there, just scattered, a spattering. But overall, Denial Esports taking that first game when it looked like GFE was doing oh so well in the beginning and phases of that game.
GFE was executing the Sergeant Hammer to begin the game. They absolutely were. They were getting pressure on the walls. They were killing the forts. They were up 2 keeps. And then it just all fell apart.
It started when Akaface was off split pushing and ended up getting caught, not having the blink kill to be able to separate, was legitimately the first step that allowed Denial to be able to get into the game. And even with big plays like this at the end, it really didn't matter because it was just staggered death after staggered death.
I was the saddest panda in the world when K1 Pro died here. Look, sad. Oh well.
If anything could possibly prove how broken Medivh is,
yes,
reabsorption in this game got unbelievable value.
Yep.
It's hard to point out just how many times there were team fights where somebody was getting focus fired and a Force of Will came out and then immediately went to full health. And this is just an example of the insane brawling composition that Denial Esports had built.
Yeah.
The Muradin and the Arthas in the late game, you do not want to get in melee range. The only thing that Galeforce had to do there was kite back, stay out of melee range, and they failed to do so.
It's as if Arthas Muradin is a tried, true, and tested composition dread.
Calm down, Dignitas.
All right, I'll stop. So that is game number 1, obviously going over to Denial Esports here, doing well for themselves after kind of a rocky game overall.
I think Rocky's putting it lightly. It was, oh man, we have this game on lock, 1 to 2 picks. Suddenly it goes the other way.
I mean,
1 more death, it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Suddenly Denial wins the game. Fawcett flies. Almost throws the game again. Then they move out, risking the fight off the core, get wiped, and proceed to lose. It was Rocky's an understatement.
Yeah. I think we're going to go to Tomb of the Spider Queen next. But you could see it in their reactions at the very end of that game. They knew they were up against the ropes. And then Glaurung all of a sudden decided to go, well, beast mode there at the very end and shout very loudly and get quite active there on that desk.
I think much like we saw in the tiebreaker in Europe, though, the number one thing is you can feel how high the tension is between the players. Like, just watching them, like, even in the decision-making, it kind of shows as well. Like, with every moment, you almost feels like the entire team plays different when they get the first kill. Because suddenly they're like, oh, I have confidence. Like, this is our moment. We have a chance.
The pressure looked like it was really impacting both teams. I mean, the decision-making, the rotation timings, some of the pickoffs. I mean, normally, we don't see that kind of stuff from Akaface getting picked off on Brightwing 24/7. We don't see, you know, those really weird, drawn-out fights opening up core calls.
All right, time to get into the draft, brought to you by Aurorus once again here. Denial Esports, 1 game up in this best of 3. And you're totally right, before we fully get into this, at the moment. We are slightly critical of some of the moves here and there, but the pressure is like never before for both of these teams in their professional careers.
And positive light for Galeforce going into this game is at least it's going to be their map choice. Again, I mean, Denial Esports, I don't even remember. I think it was 80% roughly was Cloud9's like win rate on Sky Temple. It was just insane. And I think that's going to carry over to Denial just because the core members are so good on it. So Galeforce now finally getting their own map. Hopefully they know what they're going to be trying to do when approaching this game.
This is an Ariel first pick.
Yep.
Do you think we'll see Ariel Cho'Gall out of Denial? This is one of his better maps. There's a lot of wave clear. There's turn into interrupt. We saw it on Infernal Shrines and it looked godly.
Well,
I'm just wondering if that's a possibility.
they're already anticipating the idea of the Lunara being coupled up with it, so they're going to take it away first here as Galeforce. I don't know if they're thinking about the idea of Cho'Gall just yet. I don't know. What do you think, Dread?
They might. I mean, it's definitely an option. I don't know if they're willing to risk that much. They get the Zagara as well. I was wondering if they were going to go, if they were afraid of the Cho'Gall, I feel like you could have gone Leoric there. And then you have Leoric before the ban phase, and then also have the opportunity to have a large amount of wave clear, pairing it with the Lunara. But instead, ETC Kerrigan is going to be the choice. So just an absurd amount of aggression and dominance when it comes to the 4-man in the upper half of the map.
This is a game where Denial is somewhat, at least, ignoring wave clear again. And we saw that strategy failed them on Blackheart's Bay in their Game 5 against Murlocs. They drafted a composition that had low wave clear, and Zool punished them super hard. He is still available in this draft and is an option for Galeforce Esports. We have seen Zagara Zool compositions on Tomb of the Spider Queen do enormous damage in the early game, making it nearly impossible to recover. I wonder, Denial probably thinks the kill pressure from ETC Kerrigan is enough, but I'm just concerned if they don't get more wave clear, it could be troublesome.
Yeah, I agree. They're a team who loves skirmishing, which is why maps like Sky complement their playstyle so well. They don't do too well. Like the main reason I feel like they lost to Murlocs was just Murlocs plays the maps always. They play Mercs, they play wave clear so well.
Because, of course, Ariel is on the other side, and she kind of almost eliminates the idea of kill combos going down into people. Is Galeforce, with the first 2 picks, not only denying some aspects from Denial Esports, but also kind of going for the longer sustained fights worth of damage, which Crystal Age just doesn't affect as much here?
No, with having a double sustain or like long duration team fight, heroes like Lunara and Zag really help. Most of the times we've seen Aegis come into play, it's been a one burst style composition, and then you're like, all right, what do we do now? That's not how that fight was supposed to go.
Now we run away.
That is a really good thing for them. Also, the Kerrigan is that style as well. They just need to make sure they have enough tools to step back from that, enough to survive the burst that is going to come out of Denial.
This Leoric pick is, I really have to question. Oh my gosh.
I dream.
It wouldn't be a tournament with iDream without a Rexar or without a Misha. That's fantastic. Here we go.
But, all right, so let's take a minute to actually break that down, though. Every time we've seen Rexar played on this map specifically, it's been concentrated on delaying the turn-in, denying it as best as possible, and then putting your opponent in a bad position, then looking for the engage afterwards. That's counterintuitive to what we see in the first half of their composition. You guys would run it in a delay, long period of time to where you almost never got a fight against you whenever you wanted it. But Kerrigan is going to want those fights left and right. So it's a great kill comp, but I just don't know if it's going to be as good.
Does Misha and Stun not couple up with that really nicely, though? For the potential of, followed up combos?
It combos off of it well, but I know I was hating on the Leoric pick a second ago, but now it looks insanely good, because you have that Leoric on the front line to eat those combos, and he can either Wraith walk away or die and not cost your team as much. So that pick ended up being really good against the very heavy stun kill composition that Denial ended up running.
I was about to say, Denial Esports, of course, 1 game up, is in a bit of a comfort zone. Is this them styling more than looking for the win? Because it's iDream? I mean,
I definitely think it's a win. Like, Cloud9 was almost undefeated with Misha onto this map. So I think it's definitely them looking for the creative thing that their opponents can't deal with that they feel very comfortable on.
We also always used to run it with Tronda. And I really do feel like the vision tools coupled with the mark were, what elevated the strategy to the next level. I'm not sure that you want the Kerrigan all-in in addition to that composition, because a lot of our team fights were, really drawn out, poke, and then you look for a mistake and capitalize. Kerrigan can't contribute to the poke phase, and I'm concerned that Denial's going to get overwhelmed by the sustained damage from Zagara and Lunara before they find the opening.
All right, game number 2 here between Denial Esports and Galeforce Esports. Of course, Denial currently 1 game up here. I will ask you the question, but I'm pretty sure I know where your eyes may lie here.
I mean, it's the Misha or the Leoric. The Leoric has to be able to deal with this single target burst and the kill composition, and then, I mean, iDream's got to show that the Misha pick's worth it.
Dunk-a-dunk.
I'm afraid I've caster cursed Denial so many times, so I'm just going to avoid putting the words out there.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be quiet.
Those guys. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go to the Xfinity casting desk once again to find out who is moving on to BlizzCon.
Alrighty, guys, this is it. Denial up 1-0, but we're seeing the C9 Classic with the return of Misha.
Yeah, and that's going to be the player we just saw right there is iDream. That's going to be your Misha player, Rexar player.
No, it's Misha.
It's going to be Misha, but that is going to be the player to watch. Sometimes you're wondering, wait, what's actually going on? When you've got that bear up there, it creates so many problems. But on the side of Galeforce, triple specialist playing full objective wave clear build.
That's a lot of clear. They're going to be rotating very quickly. It's a lot of sustained damage with Zagara and Lunara. Ariel's going to have her work cut out for him. I'm going to be curious to see who the primary bestow hope target is. It's currently on Glaurung. Also, you can throw that on Misha, so if you want Misha to just be up there going to town, yep, maybe it'll work out. I've never seen it, but this is going to be a new experience, the first Rexar game of the entire tournament.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're going to see Infest coming out from Zagara. It's one of those talents that if you can get good pressure, get good push with Zagara, it puts a lot of pressure in that lane. And you can see down at the bottom already trying to set that creep in. Crowan's going to be down there manning that lane against Rexar. The key moment when we talk about that Rexar is going to be when it comes time for those team fights and the control that Misha has on that front line. It's such, if you guys didn't get to see the summer circuit, in Cloud9 run that, it was something that was an absolute terror for people to deal with.
No, it really was. I mean, like they were saying, I don't know if it lost a single game. The other big talent that's standing out to me is just Backlash, and that's designed for Zool to be able to tell Kerrigan when that shield expires, she's probably going to be taking way too much damage to stay up in the front line. And if Blau isn't careful, it could be disastrous.
Yeah, we saw it last game, and it was something that put a lot of pressure, especially on Blackheart's Bay. But the instant dive onto Leoric, just barely, he was about to get away, and then Kerrigan said, "You're coming with me." Nice power slide into Udall. He's got to be very careful as he gets out of there.
Wow, so Udall has to tap that well. First blood going to Denial very quickly in this game. And that's what they're going to have to do against so much lane clear. I mean, like you said, this is the triple specialist, essentially, if you look at Lunara, just the way that she functions. And they need to get the early picks with the comp they have built here.
I did say triple specialist, didn't I? Well, Lunara is an assassin, but we know her to be extremely good at wave clear, especially at level 7, if she opts to go with Nature's Calling. So we'll see how that goes. Apologies on that, 2 specialists to 1 assassin.
It's all good, man. So Fan did end up spending his shield, so that is a sizable cooldown, but that's why you see him back in the way. He's taking a little bit more of a safe posture, acknowledging that he doesn't have the same kind of sustain he would have otherwise. Misha will now be able to dive on up. The Bone Prison is on Glau, so Glau's trying to get in a safe position. All the focus in on Glau, but the heals are there in time. Glaurung with the poison, not able to stay alive. As soon as I thought he was A-okay, not today.
The damage that you get from Lunara is very difficult to deal with. And you look at a hero like Oriel, she requires a little bit more energy, and there's certain ways to get that energy. One of those is to have your team attacking. When somebody like Kerrigan might have that bestow hope on them and they're on the retreat, you're not getting that value, you're not getting the big heals that you need. So a little bit, curious how they're going to approach that, especially if Galeforce decides to be aggressive like they just were.
Yeah, I mean, Galeforce definitely has capabilities with that Bone Prison to follow up and do the big damage and find the kills. 1-1 so far in this game. Very even in terms of the gem collection. Actually, it was identical for a brief moment. So, although it seems like it's a strong rotation side here for Denial, we've seen safe posture and good control on the side of Galeforce.
Yeah, B-Kid, it's one of the heroes that actually benefits. Fans got to be very careful and see if he can juke that combo. Nice power slide, nice follow-up. The knockback is there, but Fan using that. That's the threat of that level 1. But on that backside, Caffeine took a lot of damage. That's exactly what you talked about, Jake. That level 1 talent for Zool is very threatening.
Oh, Glau is diving back in with almost no health. He does find the kill. He gets the heal at the last moment. Almost a double. Udall very low himself. K1 Pro going in, but has to back away due to that bone prison. That was so close on King Caffeine, though.
It could have gone either way there, and the fact that you get that extra health back, clean kill picked up at level 4. If he used that when he dove back in, got the kill, you saw him get healed up, and then Oriole heal as well.
All right, 17 gems dropped off, now up to 40 gems turned in on the side of Denial Esports. Glau is going to need some help here. The whip actually ends up missing. Glowering now in a terrible position, does end up getting picked off.
You know, B-Kid very far forward, helping to zone out a lot of that, not able to get in there. You know, a very important thing I think we need to note right now is the fact that Oriole has no cleanse. That bone prison is in lockdown that you cannot avoid. So positioning, whether Kerrigan is going to be able to find a minion or something to be able to dive to create distance, that's something we've got to keep out for, because there's no way you're getting out of that. So it's going to be very interesting when that comes time. Level 7 is normally the cleanse pickup, but not going to see it this game.
Okay, so iDream does have a decent amount of lane clear where the build is going. That Sweeping Strike is going to be essential for helping deal with these web weavers. Misha is going to be up there wailing away. And of course, Sylvanas is solid for keeping the lanes pushed back. But the amount of push that we have here with Zool and Lunara and Kerrigan knocking on that door, they could get a lot of damage done with this first turn-in.
It almost looks like Fan is just looking and daring somebody to step out far enough to put that bone prison onto. Because it's a 2-second charge up before it lands, it gives somebody the opportunity. If they're close to their wall, they can get back far enough. So look for Denial to play a little bit safer with their position and stay close to those safe structures. Those structures are safe to stay next to, Jake, if they're there.
Yeah, if they're not there, you're just kind of standing alone in the woods, and it's kind of creepy. Okay, well, King Caffeine is all by himself, power sliding down. Web Weavers did manage to get down through the walls. No forts will fall here. Misha!
It almost looked like it went into the position of a rug you would find on some weird...
Oh, don't say that to me, Jake.
Yeah.
That's, no.
Sorry, it's the way it fell.
Rest in peace, Misha. Well, 10 gems are needed for the turn-in on the side of Denial. They will find the kill on Lunara and possibly the double here for Fan. He's running away. Backlash is up. Doesn't get the connection there on Glowering. The combo does end up landing. Fan should fall. Ravage goes in. That's a kill. Confirm on B-Kid. The Haunting, or excuse me, the Wraithwalk will be enough to get away. And Akaface is going to slip through the nether.
And we've already seen this on Tomb of the Spider Queen and Glowrung. He shows that he plays this map really well with this hero, and right now he has been their all-star in this game. The rest of the team around him has enabled him to make plays because they're all playing so well together right now. Up one game, they now have the Web Weavers level 10 on the doorstep. This is a good point for Denial Sports to be in.
Yeah, it's a great spot. I mean, with those heroics, as you mentioned, on the table very, very soon, especially once these towers start to fall, which is imminent. There we have our heroic abilities. It's going to be the Boars here with Mosh Pit, Crystal Aegis. The Boars have been cast already on the side of iDream, and I'm not too sure what for.
You try and put a little bit of pressure. Maybe they were looking for something on Cigar down at the bottom, or maybe they're just looking to push forward. You talk about the wave clear potential, and in this case, it's going to be the defensive potential. Nature's Toxin was picked up for Lunar at level 7, so the extra damage there to any of the PvE monsters that are going to be coming up, the minions or the Web Weavers or any of the things that spawn there. You know, there's a lot of return damage, but at the same time, Sylvanas pushing allows you to get more value out of that. So a test of wills between the wave clear between these two teams.
Yeah, pretty even trades overall. Zool was able to stay in the top for the most part, so he actually ended up pushing during that Web Weaver spawn rather than taking any damage in his lane. That's just the power of that hero summoning all those skeletons with his necromancy. But now Fan is caught a bit out of position. The prison has been sent out. The damage going in. Fan getting the Ancestral at the last moment. He stays alive. Maw on just ETC. Akaface is being chased, and we do see the Entomb not quite saving him. Glau is on the chase, but that wolf form is just too quick. He might find the kill. Aka has been spotted, and yep, that is one dead wolf.
Yeah, Aka, he went around the corner thinking he might have a...
Glau? Oh!
He thought he had a little bit of a juke, but then the minute he stepped around that corner, he saw some minions, and then he realized at that moment he was going to be spotted. So a tough moment. You know, in the middle of that fight, we actually saw the cancellation of the Poison Nova by Zul, so that was on a little bit of a cooldown. Luckily, they were able to save him, but you got to wonder if that wasn't canceled out, if we might be looking at a little bit different fight there on the side of Galeforce, because that does put out a lot of damage, and he was right in the heart of that.
Yeah, nice knockback. That's going to give them the second turn in back-to-back here to try to ride this momentum. They have taken the lead in experience. K1 Pro cleaning up this bottom lane, soaking up a lot of XP, and netting themselves the opportunity to take the lead here in terms of XP and talent.
They're clearing up those lanes. The further you clear those lanes up, the further up those web weavers are going to spawn. So you need to try and get that cleared quickly, and that's exactly what Denial is doing. And again, Sylvanas is there, level 13. You got to think that if they can get a few structures, they might be able to get 13, and they might be able to get super aggressive as they dive in. And they have the team to do it with Kerrigan to really get on there. And of course, if Rexar decides to unleash those boars, that's also very threatening.
It's a nice little hard engaged Caffeine rotating down towards Zul. Will find Finn. Finn still has his Bone Prison and his shield, but the Mosh Pit will be used to confirm the free kill. That's a lot of gems too.
That's a lot of gems, and some people are like, why would you use it on one hero? You need to be able to confirm that kill. Sometimes securing one kill and then staggering this so that they can put the pressure on now, I mean, that gets immense value. Yes, it's a 2-minute cooldown, but a great use of Mosh Pit to allow the rest of his team to come down and those to get that kill. Van's going to have to be a little bit more careful with his posturing. He got away with it in that top lane, but he's been caught in the middle lane, saved, caught in the bottom lane, nobody there to take care of him.
Yeah, and just look at how they've opened up the map. I mean, like you said, bottom's completely cleaned up now. They can rotate up. They can force the position here in Galeforce to make them retreat. Level advantage with the talent advantage. B-Kid, actually, Caffeine's like intentionally waiting on the left side to try to catch him out of position, but a great use of that Wraith Walk at the last moment. Even then, B-Kid almost went down.
Jake, take a look at the gems. 50 now for Galeforce, but that's because they lost a bunch. We have one extra turn-in for Denial, and yet they are almost having another Web Weaver turn-in. They seem to be in control. The early game was going very well for Galeforce, but now on the backside, Denial seems to be threatening quite a bit. I'm not sure if Galeforce has figured out the answer just yet for the Rexar and for the threat of Kerrigan.
Yeah, one gem away from being able to turn in full for the third summon in a row. But there is enough on the table here. They're looking for the turn in the bottom half. Glau just throwing out the half combo, not committing fully. Misha will be caught by the Bone Prison. But with Men Pet, nope, not even able to keep alive. Boars have been sent out. Udal is the focus, but not going to be able to lock down. And we see the Ancestral Heal topping him off. A single here from Ariel, but the Entomb on King Caffeine has left him secluded. Can they keep him alive? Crystal Aegis has to be used.
The Crystal Aegis is out, and Glaurung now diving in, using the minions to make up the distance. Poison Nova, it seems to have only landed onto Idru, but APM gets caught in there as well. A lot of damage right now. They got to group up to be able to get the heals. Little bit of energy stored up for Oriel, and they are still in pursuit, but on the backside, Fan locking down. The power slide just missing Zul there, and now look at this. Denial has forced them off. They have enough jumps for a turn, and this is another round of Web Weavers, and Galeforce can do absolutely nothing about it. B-Kid.
Oh, and K1 Pro is going to chase. This is a risky thing to do, but it might actually pay off as B-Kid is incredibly low, and yes, he will end up going down here. Gems, look at all of them that will go all the way down into the nothingness and essentially slow down Galeforce's opportunity to try to take advantage of their big push style. Yes, we're talking about Nature's Calling being effective on the defense, but they really want to push down those 3 low forts.
It almost seems like they haven't found a way to punish the no cleanse of Denial. They just haven't been able to find anybody out of rotation. It's really hard for them to push into a fight. They seem to be just wanting to rotate to get any bit of map control back. They tried for a turn-in. They got the kill on Misha, but that forced the fight and it forced the hand of Denial, and they were able to capitalize on it. So it was a tough moment for them to be in. They've got to start picking and choosing their fights better. They have to look for a pick, or they have to find the right target. We saw the Entomb. It isolated Caffeine, but they were split. They couldn't decide on a target, and yes, ETC is very hard to kill, so it's a really weird spot for them to be in, but they have to at least get a kill. 7 kills to 2 in favor of Denial right now.
Yeah, and even Denial, there's like kind of a downside to this. They haven't been able to really capitalize on these turn-ins. Like, sure, all 3 forts are down. But, with Sylvanas, you think, oh yeah, you can push really hard. But considering all the PvE damage, the PvE control that is here on the side of Galeforce, they haven't pushed in as much as they might like. And now they're looking for a boss. It is 14-16. But it looks like the boss should leash. The boars have come out. They are chasing one after another, connecting, but no follow-up here. The boss did not actually fully leashed. So that was almost like a mini Mighty Gust to zone them away, and it is successful in doing so. Denial, with the talent advantage, now have a boss to march forward with. And B-Kid, oh, he does go down.
The Wraithwalk is there, and they are punishing him for being so far up, and that's something that when we saw the draft, I almost wondered if they weren't going to go into something like Leoric to have a little bit more control. They were obviously looking to possibly capitalize on some Entombs. It's a good map for Leoric, but you can see he's being punished as Fan. He's trying to clear up the bottom lane, but this is a keep under assault in the top lane. 2-level lead for Denial, and Galeforce has to be careful. If they give up a pick and this door opens up right now and Glaurung goes in, he's already jockeying for position. If he decides to get on somebody, this could be game in, and if they're not careful.
Yeah, this is a tough situation, ladies and gentlemen. Denial, they are one game away from qualifying for BlizzCon, the $1 million tournament, and that keep is gonna go down. The boss still sitting at about 60% of its health, but Denial, they're not getting overeager. They're gonna take the prize of knowing they have catapults in a lane that still has a fort standing.
I mean, this is just absolutely brutal right now for Galeforce. They just haven't figured out the answer. They've been getting picked off. They've been getting caught out in inopportune moments. They haven't had that second turn in, and we already see 55 gems picked up for Denial. They're threatening their 4th turn in already.
And there's barely enough in the pockets of Galeforce. In most scenarios where you see something like this, the team that's in Galeforce's shoes tends to have a large bank, 100, 120, maybe even more than that of gems collected, and then they have this opportunity to get those back-to-back turn-ins. But since they have continuously lost key members like Leoric, who are supposed to be able to escape and be the piggy bank that holds all your gems, they're not in that situation. It's going to make it very difficult for them to find themselves back in this game.
It is, and there's the Bone Prison, but that's going to not last long. But now the engagement, Glaurung in the backside, and we see the Bane Death basically back there for Idream. The Aegis is keeping alive, but the 2-person Devouring Maul is going to be able to secure a little bit of control. They're going to try and do the damage. Nice dive in, and we see the ETC Mosh Pit landing. Nobody going down just yet. Caffeine very low, but Glaurung dives to the backside, starts securing the kill, gets the resets, 3 members down.
Man.
Jake, this is huge. All 5 members. This is going to be game.
I don't believe it, Jay. How they take the clean fight. The 2-man Maw, it looked like they might have had it, but APM clutched out the kills. They're marching with a Web Weaver. I can hear Denial shouting on the stage from here. BlizzCon is in their sights. Idream, K1 Pro, King Caffeine, the reigning champions of BlizzCon 2015 will be returning once more to represent North America.
That man in the corner is Glaurung, and he had made so many plays for this team. That Kerrigan play has been absolutely impeccable. His team allowed him to become an absolute god on this map, on Kerrigan. They are going to BlizzCon, Jake.
So happy for these guys. Congratulations once again to Denial. They worked so hard for this. They went all the way in Game 5 in the Grand Finals versus Murloc Geniuses. They failed in that last moment on Blackheart's Bay. They cleared their minds. They had the challenges of Galeforce, who were rested and prepared, but they held their ground.
I mean, it's almost like we couldn't say Idream because nothing really happened other than he interrupted everything with Misha. And it was like, all right, but the flashy stuff happened with Glaurung. But I mean, his team allowed Glaurung to do so much that Misha was just an absolute nuisance to that. You can see all the kills that they were able to get. They punished positioning. They punished the lack of a strong front line that they were able to get. Fan being stunned out there. And look who is at the front of that. Glaurung diving in. B-Kid, he's going to be there. They punished him. I mean, it was just so much going on. And then this boss fight here.
Well, the zoning boars, like Misha's Rex are such an uncommon hero. And they actually use the wildfire boars. Watch how far Akaface runs away. Or excuse me, that was just before this. But they all ran so far away from that boss, enabling them to keep it leashed, pick it up, and then in the end, King Caffeine, knowing his limits, this Crystal Aegis gets pulled into the Maw. The moment the Maw expires, he power slides in, APM lines in the heel to make sure he stays alive, and that is it. They won it all there. I can't wait to hear what Glau has to say. Trixler, take it away.
All right, I am here with Denial's very own Glaurung. Glaurung, I don't know if anyone has told you, but you're going to BlizzCon.
It probably won't hit me for a few days. God, I'm really sad we lost the tournament, but at the same time, we have time until BlizzCon to improve, and I'm so proud of my team. like the reason we lost finals, I choked, and I recognize that. I have so much room to improve, and I'm so excited to see where we can go as a team. Like, fuck, BlizzCon for the first time in 3 years. I'm so happy.
Dude, I think a lot of people are very proud for you. Honestly, man, I think you're being a bit too harsh on yourself. This guy played amazing this weekend, guys. Come on. Let's give him a little bit of love. Let's go rewind back a little bit. Playing against Murlocs, yes, you guys did lose, but it was a crazy 3-2 series. But the main target is going to BlizzCon. You had a tiebreaker series. What was going through your guys' mind? What did you guys tell each other? What was the main thing that you focused on to make sure you can come out 2-0?
We had to make sure that, like, we still had, I don't know, like, we were all exhausted, but we knew that if we drafted properly, like, we knew that we could beat GFV in this situation. Like, GFV is a really strong team, but I think they just haven't figured themselves out on this patch. And Murlocs, like, that series was so unpredictable. I'm really sad we lost that, but I'm happy we're ending up going to BlizzCon. I hope we can improve before November.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to you guys playing. Going to BlizzCon, the major thing that we need to worry about is playing against Korea, playing against China, playing against these other regions. Are you excited at the opportunity? Are you looking to show your best games? What's the main thing you guys are going to focus on?
Last time I played against international talent was at WCA. We lost every single game. Most embarrassed I've ever been in my life. And I really hope that we'll be good enough to show that we can be the best in NA and best in the world.
All right, man, we'll be cheering for you. Again, congratulations. We'll see the rest of you in Denial Esports joining Murloc Geniuses at BlizzCon 2016. Congratulations, man. Let's go ahead and head back to our panel and find out about these games.
Thank you very much, Trixler. Indeed, that is Denial Esports marching on here. A big congratulations to them. Boys, final thoughts there from them being able to advance on here against GFE.
I mean, I think it's fitting. We have 3 BlizzCon champions going to BlizzCon, I guess. You know, I think they definitely deserved it. I think, without a doubt, they were better than Galeforce this tournament. And, I mean, props to them. They ended up going through. And it's the first time Glarong, who's played forever, has ever made it really to a regional. He's played internationally, but never as a champion.
I am really happy that these guys actually made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey for them, I know.
Yeah.
It was really difficult around the time C9 breaking up. I'm happy they all found a new home, and all it took was me having faith and not caster cursing them. So you're welcome, guys.
Yeah, you didn't say their name towards the end. Thank you very much, Dunk. We appreciate that. I suppose I can close this book on this chapter for North America as a whole here, as we conclude things here for PAX West and we conclude things for Seattle here in Washington. Of course, before there was Tempo Storm and Cloud9. After that, there was Galeforce and Naventic. Now, there is Murloc Geniuses and Denial Esports. The new era of North America has begun.